Hi everyone, this is your final intervention paper. So this is the last assignment that you will do with your group. I know it's very sad. So imagine this is almost like a grant application, and think about the grant lecture that we had from our guest speaker. So in this one, I kind of started off saying that you received a grant for $100,000, but you can also think of it as that you're applying for a grant for $100,000, and consider how specific you need to be in your description in order to get said grant. So with this money, you're considering an intervention to address the nutrition concerns in your population, which this semester is the ASU students. So we've already worked through the steps of doing the needs assessment. Think about your community assessment, your asset map, your lit review, your nutrition education plan. So let's think about how you can put that all together and come up with a large-scale intervention that would change the nutrition status of your population. So this is a lot of money, so think big, think innovative. Don't think about something that's been done a million times. Think new and exciting. So this first part is the biggest part, so I would encourage you to do this as a group. Don't divide and conquer for this first part. But the intervention, think about all the experimental studies that you read, which is essentially an intervention. We want to think about how we're going to change the behavior of our population. So there are 4 key components to the intervention. As you did in our last discussion board post. So consider how you're going to incorporate each of those. And you're explaining all this in paragraph form. Then you're going to reference back to your lit review. So the reason I had you find interventions was so that you could be inspired by them and then hopefully model some of what you're doing after those interventions. So because this intervention used this type of technology, and then you're citing that research, we decided to move forward with this type of intervention. So in this section and throughout the paper, you can use personal pronouns. It's not so much of a research paper anymore, so you can use I, we, etc. Excuse me. Then you're going to talk about how many people you're targeting with your intervention, and don't just say the entire ASU population. Try to be a bit more specific, because ultimately you'll need to measure all of them pre and post, and you're not going to have the entire student population participate. Think about how you're going to recruit them, and note that ASU does not allow flyers or anything on the sidewalk, so consider what type of technology you're going to use. Where is it going to take place? It could be a physical space, but it could also be in the, in the technology world, so that's fine too. You could develop an app, you could do anything. I mean, think innovative, think about the future, think about what this population ultimately responds to, which typically is technology. How will the program address the nutrition concerns that you've identified? How are you going to market it? So again, consider technology. And then identify at least 2 goals and 2 objectives. So remember that goals are large, overarching, and objectives are very specific. So think about the objectives that you did on your nutrition education lesson. Remember that they included action verbs in there. There's also an example of this paper in the intervention assignment module, so look at that as well. All right, so then you move on to the social ecological model. So you shouldn't necessarily be coming up with anything new that you didn't state above. You're just figuring out how it fits into each box of the social ecological. So what did you say above that addresses the individual? What did you say that addresses interpersonal relationships? What addresses the community? And consider your coordination of care note from above. And then the last one is the only one that you wouldn't have addressed above, the public policy. And come up with a new policy that would be really helpful to help your population be successful in your intervention. So consider, like, when our policy guest speaker came, she was talking about how they came up with the double up food bucks to help encourage fruit and vegetable consumption. So don't use that, but come up with something else that would be helpful as a policy to help make your intervention successful. For the evaluation piece, you're going to explain what success looks like for your intervention. So note that you'll need to do some type of pre and post measurement, because how else are you going to show that you completed all your goals that you set out to do? For the budget, you need to be super duper specific and you need to clearly break down that $100,000. So remember back to our guest speaker on the grants, how specific she was when she was talking about salad bars and everything else that she needed in her intervention. So don't just say that we're going to spend $100,000 on building a grocery store. It's not specific, and please don't build a grocery store. We already have one downtown. The last point here is plan for sustainability. So after the money is gone, how is this intervention going to continue and how can your participants still be successful? So money is helpful, but consider building something sustainable with that money.